guys, so I'm going to be doing a video on Scream 2, which I have not seen all the Scream movies. Scream? Did I say Scream? Scream movies. I know I reviewed the first one back in my classic horror section segment, whatever, that I did a few months ago, I think. And so now I'm gonna do Scream 2 because I just watched it last night, so it's like fresh in my brain. It is on Netflix, as well as Scream 3, which I will be watching very, very soon. I love these movies just for what they are, being a very self-aware serial killer film, but also poking fun at itself. I can really appreciate that sense of humor, especially because it was the first series of movies to do that. Given that these were made in the 90s, I think, you know, I can appreciate that a little bit more because it was the first. What I love most about these movies is they combine humor with gore and scariness and suspense. There's so much suspense, jump scares in these movies, but they're in a fun way. The jump scares don't bother me. They don't make me jump, but, you know, normally I don't like movies that rely on jump scares, but it knows that it's corny, it knows that it's funny. It definitely makes fun of itself for those things. So this movie takes place 2 years after the Woodsboro killings that are the Scream 1, and they being somebody, I don't know who, made a movie out of it, and I don't think that would ever happen in real, well, I mean, it does happen, but like, too soon, you know? It's called Stab, and okay, the one thing that really bothered me about Scream 2 is the beginning scene with the movie theater. I'm like, who the fuck does that in a movie theater? Like, who runs around screaming, and like everybody's running around with their knives, like fake knives, and their masks of ghost face, and just running around, and when someone dies, they're like, you know, hooting and hollering. I'm like, who does that? Like, nobody does that in the theater. I don't know why they set that up that way. I mean, they needed to show, like, the excitement of everybody for this movie. I don't know. It was weird. The whole thing was weird. One of my favorite characters in this movie is Randy, and he was one of my favorites in the first one because he was really the, I don't want to say comical relief character, but he kind of was, because he points out everything that is in the movie that is a typical serial killer movie or horror movie or whatever, and he's like, there are rules to a horror movie, this is what they are. And then in the second one, the one I'm talking about, he does that again in the restaurant or whatever, and he's talking about the rules of a sequel, and it was so hilarious how they did that. I really love how they have those scenes where they point out what the rules are and then they follow them. It's great. You know, the body count was more, and there was a big twist of who the killer was and everything like that, which was awesome, by the way. I loved who the killer was, very unexpected, which I will get into because I am going to do spoilers. A lot of you said, well, like 2 of you said you miss my spoilers in these videos, so I'm going to include those at the end. Basically, this movie isn't the best. There are some things that bother me. For instance, when the detectives or the police officers, whatever, are taking Sydney and her friend, I don't know her name. They're taking her and her friend to safety. Basically, she gets in the side of the car after kissing her boyfriend goodbye, and then, like, the next time we see her in the car, she's on the other side of the car. Like, did they switch sides? I mean, I don't get why they did that. So, I mean, they did it for a reason, for future in the movie. There was a reason why she was sitting on that side, but, like, why couldn't they just have the scene where she says goodbye to her boyfriend on the other side of the car? Like, is it that hard to just make it over there? I don't know. Or make the car facing in other directions. So, I don't know. That kind of bothered me. There are things like that that happen that aren't, you know, doesn't make it the best kind of quality movie, but I think these are so entertaining that I can, you know, ignore all those things and really appreciate the movies for what they are. I also really love the characters in all these movies. I just think they're very original for these type of movies. They're not original anymore, but for when these movies came out, I like them. I like Sydney, I like Cotton, and I like, that's about it. I don't really know. Gale Weathers, kind of. Dewey, I like Dewey. Things like that. I did miss Matthew Lillard in this one, of course, but we all know he died. So I'm excited to watch the third one, and I've heard the fourth one's really good too. Is there a fourth one? I'm pretty sure that I've heard that somewhere. I don't know. But I love these kind of movies, and I don't know, I always thought that I wouldn't like these movies because they were supposed to be funny, but I thought that they were supposed to be serious scary, and when I saw like things about them, I was like, that's not scary at all, but it's really not supposed to be like a horror. It definitely has its elements, but it's not really a horror, I don't think anyway. I think it's a combination, yes, but from all the other horror movies I've seen, these don't categorize as a horror for me, in my opinion. Have not seen the Scream movies, I would definitely recommend them. I'll have a link to my first review from Scream, just the original Scream, down below, as well as the trailer for Scream 2. Now I'm going to get into the spoilers and the end of the movie, and what I liked and didn't like and stuff like that about the spoilers. I do recommend, though, if you haven't seen the Scream 2, that you don't watch the spoilers, because for me that was one of the great moments, although it is old enough, I think a lot of us have already seen it. So as we know, Scream likes to point out different suspects in obvious ways, and for me that's kind of a buzzkill, because when they do it in an obvious way, you know that's not the killer. Just like they tried to do that with her new boyfriend, in this one, didn't work for me. I knew he was not the killer, even when the guy who was the killer even when Mickey comes out and reveals that he, in fact, what's his name, Derek, that Derek was an accomplice with him, and Sydney was kind of questioning whether or not to believe him because she was surprised that Mickey was actually the killer, which was her girlfriend's boyfriend, I think anyway, or just a friend, I don't know. So then, you know, he kills Derek and then says, you know, we all need an accomplice, there's always an accomplice, and so next thing you know, Gale Weathers walks out onto the stage because they're at a theater, and Sydney's like, Gale? And she's like, no. And then, who do you know but Billy, whatever his last name is, Billy's mom comes out. In case you didn't remember, Billy was her boyfriend in the last one who ended up being the killer with Matthew Lillard. So his mom comes out, and basically she just wants revenge. She kills Mickey and says there's not going to be a trial, kills him because he was looking forward to the trial for some reason, and then it ends up being Billy's mom against Sydney, and that was pretty cool. That whole scene was nice. It was very suspenseful and action-packed, I felt, and I really like that. I like the ending, and of course the double tap. Finally, thank God, Sydney's smart. She knows how to double tap. That's all I'm saying. I did like all the deaths in this one. Some of them are kind of boring, but the first death that you see is awesome, which is the guy who is in the theater with his girlfriend. He goes to the bathroom, and he's like listening to the bathroom stall on the other side, and he hears someone like on the phone, and he's laughing about it, and all of a sudden, bam, knife in the ear. It was great. I loved that. I don't think a knife would really go through a bathroom stall. Maybe it would. And also, how did he know exactly where he was? Like, where his head was? What if he missed his ear and it, like, went behind his head? Oh, you're screwed. I don't know. I thought that was kind of strange. But, you know, little things like that kind of bother me because obviously it's not realistic. This movie's not really realistic, but I don't know. Nitpicky things. What do you think about the Scream series? Is it one of your favorites? It's definitely one of mine. I love watching these. I can watch them over and over again. They're just so entertaining, and I love them. So let me know what you think about them and Scream 2 individually if you've seen it down below, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.